Alright, Phillips Legion. Um, there's been quite a bit of shuffling around of personnel and that sort of thing, and we've got a bunch of new folks. What we have coming up here shortly is our Olustee campaign, and learning how to pack your gear, or learning more like what to bring for Olustee, takes multiple occurrences to kind of figure that out. It can be extremely difficult if you don't pack correctly, in that you bring too much stuff, or you don't bring enough stuff, or you don't bring the appropriate stuff. So what I have here in front of you is for somebody that's walking, okay? For somebody that's going to be, scooching around on their own feet, not on a horse. This is the bare minimum with a few extras thrown in. Now, the reason I have extras in this particular setup is because, for the most part, from what I understand this year, we're not going to be doing any running around. If you're a cannoneer, you're pretty much going to be stationary on those cannons for about a day and a half before we move towards the field. So what you see is basically what I thought would represent gear that you can carry around relatively easily. Now, could I carry all this stuff? Absolutely. I've carried more than this out there. It's not comfortable, though. It really isn't. I mean, what you're not seeing is the clothing, like the outer garments and that sort of thing. I'm going to move around to the front of the camera here and start kind of pointing things out. Okay. Number one thing that you have to have on the campaign is a canteen. Alright? Now, I can tell you stories about the canteen, in that we had one guy come out with us one year, and he was so excited that he actually brought a 3-band rifle, a Henry, a pistol, blanket, greatcoat, all sorts of reenacting gear, but he did not bring a canteen, and he actually did not last. He did not last out in the field. He talked a bunch of crap on our boards. He was very excited, and he got out to the campaign. He lasted for about maybe 2 hours, and then he left, and we never saw him or heard from him again. Another thing that's a requirement is a cartridge box. Those of you riding, you might want to take the tins out. Those of you that are walking, leave the tins in. Or if you just really want to, they're kind of required. Unless you're riding, so your rounds go right in there. This is something that I added to my gear, and it's just a lightweight, tin, antique looking. I found it at the thrift store for a few pennies, a few cents. And what I keep in this is my grits, baking soda, anything that if it gets damp it'll get ruined. I put in a tin and keep that, in my backpack. And we'll get to the backpack in a minute. Alright. As for cooking gear, after several years of trial and error and that sort of thing, I opted just for the stainless steel mucket. I mean, this thing is a very good pot. You can make your grits, boil your eggs, the whole bit. Boil up ham in your bucket here. And then eat things out of your plate right there. This is just a lightweight tin plate. Fork, you're going to need that. This is a period correct fork. Cup. Because it's kind of hard to drink out of the mucket. You can make yourself hot beverages, but then I recommend always pouring it into your cup, because drinking it, putting your lips to that hot mucket kind of blows. And things like hot chocolate and that sort of thing are very good, because what happens in Florida is you wind up baking during the day. You know, this is in February. You wind up baking during the day, and then at night you freeze your butt off, which is what this is. This is just a stainless steel, which isn't terribly period correct, but they did have flasks back then. And in this, I actually keep just a little bit of liquor to kind of help, you know, keep me warm, and also sore throats. That's what's up, you know. And I just always carry just a few ounces of rum, about 4 ounces. All right, moving right along. These right here are lifesavers. Like I said, you bake during the day, and at night you freeze your butt off. This right here is the #1 piece. This hat, you know, a hand crocheted wool hat. This is 100% wool, hand crocheted hat. This is going to be the majority of what keeps you warm at night. A hat. All right, wool socks and wool gloves, because, you know, like I said, you freeze at night. All right, moving right along. What I have here is an Italian military blanket. Those are the most authentic, period correct blankets that you can get right now. You know, unless it's like a serious, you know, thread count reproduction. And then, like I said, this year, and because of this year only, we're basically scheduled to be stationary. I'm bringing another blanket, and this is a lightweight Russian blanket, and it's 100% wool also. This is the color. It's not terribly period correct, but I don't plan to sleep under that one. I plan to sleep on that one, and that's part of it, is that the ground in Florida will just suck the body heat right out of you. Alright, so you want to have something to sleep on. So between this blanket and this ground cloth right here, this is my gun blanket, maybe we'll avoid some of the shivers this year. And then the next thing you're going to need is your primary firearm. For me, I'm going with a Henry this year because we're doing federal. You're going to have your pistol caps, and powder. Now, Bob has said that he basically doesn't want folks to have, you know, more than 2 pistols, and, you know, no more than 1 cylinder per pistol. I'm just bringing the one. This right here is an oilcloth, and all it has on it is basically linseed oil, Crisco, just maybe a touch of WD-40, a little bit of lard. And now, what do I bring this? I bring this because these guns right here in that Florida air is so damp and humid that your guns will rust up quick. So you need to, you know, especially, you know, if there's lulls in the fight and that sort of thing, be able to wipe them down. Like at night, you want to wipe them down really good, or they'll just, you know, get really nasty really quick. Okay. This is kind of a superfluous item right here. This is a folding tin lantern, and basically I've got 3 sticks of candle nub right there, and then this little bit swings out, and it will just sit there, and it will reflect light for you. You know, light up your camp a little bit so you can see what you're doing at night. You know, modern conveniences like flashlights are seriously shunned, so, you know, this is about as good as you're going to be able to get. And, you know, they're not expensive. I'm sure everybody has seen these or has one. So, moving right along. Haversack. Here's mine. It's all beat to crap, but hey, looks really good. I've had it since I started. This is basically what I carry my food in. Alright, from what I gather, this year we're not doing messes that I'm aware of. We're not grouping up, which is a good thing because you always wind up carrying stuff that somebody else is going to eat and you never get to see it, and it just turns into a big argument. It's just stupid. So I just avoid it. You know, me, I always bring grits, rice, ramen noodles. Yes, they did have dried, you know, Oriental noodles back then. Beef jerky, trail mix, because obviously they had nuts and raisins. And that's basically what I eat for a day and a